Howdy folks, TJ here. Crash Radio cast number 2 for me. It's today is Valentine's Day. Holy smokes, did you get your better half a sweet of some kind? We'll chat a little bit about Valentine's Day, but since we're talking about love, amore, we're going to talk about the Spectrum next, my continuing experience, adventure, and why I fell in love with it. Over on the screen to the right, and you're listening to the radio cast right now, and in about a week after that post, I'll put up my video. Over on my computer, I have the original ZXSpectrum Next Kickstarter. That really started my whole percolation for wanting to get a Specky Next. So I'm going to, with you, at the same time, travel back in time to 2018 and check out the Specky Next Kickstarter, read just some snippets from it, and then chat about it. Since it's all about love, Valentines, but this will come after Valentines because today's Valentine's Day, so this will probably be cast next week, and then my video the following week, so it'll be a little out of time, but that's okay. February, I take holidays in chunks of months. February is about love. The rest of the year, I don't love anybody. You know, they always have to say, oh, I don't like Valentine's Day because you're supposed to love the person all year long. Well, let me tell you something about that. Sure you do. But I've been with my lady for getting close to 40 years now. I met her in college, junior college, in 1985. So in a couple years from now, that will be 40 years that I've known her. It will be, we've been married 32 years, so in another 2 or 3 years or whatever, when it hits that 40 year of knowing each other, we have been married 35 years. That's a whole lot of time. Now we love each other. You know, they have movies where they show fairy tale romances. I'm sure there's some of them out there, but the odds are most marriages are kind of like my wife's and mine. We love each other, but we get the hell underneath each other's fingernails and nerves because people are weird. Animals many times are better than people. I'll just leave that there, but yeah, people are weird. So having just, I could go right now and give somebody $1,000 and they're going to think something negative from it. They just never too many positives. That's just the way humans are, right? So we get on each other's nerves, but I love her. I think she loves me. I don't know. But we've been together all this time, and we're still married. So that says something. Let me show you. You can only hear this through the radio, Crash Radio, but then you'll eventually see it if you watch my videos. I'll show you the cards we got each other. So our Valentines here are fairly low key. We live in California, so we are middle class, very poor side of middle class because it costs a lot to live in California. I think the politicians are trying to run people like myself out so they can take over all the lands and have a beautiful place for themselves because I can't afford to live here. We barely make it. We barely survive. And we're just kind of here. And we like California. There's some positives to it. The natural part of California is wonderful. You got the ocean on one side. You got the wonderful mountains and the Sierras on the other side. You got snow skiing, snow all seasons on parts of California. Then you got the more deserty parts if you like that, and the hot parts if you like hell. California's pretty big ass state, and it's a wonderful place in terms of the natural resources, but it's very costly to live here. So what are our presents to each other? My wife and I aren't going out for a romantic holiday Valentine's dinner. We cut each other cards. And right now, if you're watching or listening to the radio part, I'm holding up a couple of cards. And this is the one I got for my wife. She loves cats. I was not a cat person before I met her. I'm still not a cat person now, but I love my cats because I'm allergic to them. Doctor says you shouldn't be in the same room with them, but somehow I am. So mine was, it says, you make, and it's got 2 cats and I'm showing this on the video part, that their tails are forming a heart. So you listen into the radio, a crash radio, which is super uber cool, right? You can vision the cat's tails are making a heart. And it says, my heart, purr, purr. So that was it's the thought behind it, right? She loves cats, so I got her a card, and I got her some candy. So in the United States, one of our candies is called Sweet Tarts, or Sweeties. They now make licorice ropes, so I got her some Sweet Tart licorice ropes that she likes. It's not expensive. I got it like at the $1.25 store, and the card was $1.25. The rest of the year, we spend money on each other, and for the house and for living all year long. So it's not like we have to pick out and buy a big diamond ring. She has a diamond ring. It's not huge, but it was what I could afford at the time, 32 years ago. So we do the best we can. So yeah, she got a card, she got some candy, and she got me a card. It says, to my husband, and it shows kind of like, it looks like it's a black and white little boy and little girl, but then the roses are nice and red. Roses are red, my love, violets are blue. Did you know that Crash Radio has wonderful singing? Now you do. And so that was nice. And she also, at her work, they had a goodie bag that they did something. And in the goodie bag, she showed me that last night. One thing was a key, a QI. You know the chargers you put iPhones and stuff on? She has a nice Apple one that cost her a lot of money. So when she took out this little cheaper one, I said, oh, is that for me? And she looked at me like, no. But she put it next to my card this morning out on the kitchen table where we left each other the gifts. So I think that's mine now, and I can use it on my new iPhone 14. Because I've got a case that doesn't let it recharge too well right now. So it's hers, but it's mine. In California, 50% of everything is mine is hers, and 50% of hers is hers. Something like that. But anyway, cards. Valentines, yeah, sure. As somebody posted on my Facebook group this morning, or Facebook page, that it was for the gift card companies, kind of like Halloween is for the candy companies. Well, the Valentine's one is for the gift card companies or whatever. I'm sure part of it's true, but hey, it's $1.25. If you love somebody, sure, love them all year long. But no, in February is when I'm going to love you. The rest of the year I'm going to hate you and you're going to hate me. That's perfectly fine. No, that's not true. I'm just playing around with you. So what's next? Specky next. So on my screen over here, and you're not going to see it in the video, nor are you seeing this on the radio channel, but today is all about love. Why did TJ from the United States, and I need to go off camera here for a second, because my nose is itching, and I don't want you to think I'm picking my nose, but you can imagine it, like Beavis and Butthead when they're crunching. Did you ever watch Beavis and Butthead, and when Beavis is picking his nose, you hear crunching? Well, yeah, it's kind of like what it is. Okay, I gotta wake up this, hold on, I gotta wake up this monitor. Is it okay to have dead airspace when you're on radio? Dead space, I loved it. So you're probably going, oh, what happened? The beeper sound stopped. TJ stopped talking. ZXSpectrum next. Kickstarter. I went back. Do you know that Henrique has 3 names? There's Henrique oh, jeez. I can't say last names. But there's another one. I'm not going to say what it is because maybe, although he has it on his Kickstarter page, so I guess he's not bashful of it, but he goes by his middle name. I did not know that. At least that's what I'm reading into this. But we all know him and love him as Henrique, who helped bring the Specky Next to people like me. I got a little choked up there. We're going to read part of this together, and then we'll chat about it. So, the Spectrum Next, it's 2018. And it says the Kickstarter 2 campaign is live. Oh, they're saying that the number 2 is live. So they went back in time and on the first one said, hey, we're selling another batch. Go check it out. So I'm not going to read that part. We all know, and I am on the second Kickstarter too. Let's go down and where's the story? Okay, Spectrum Next. The evolution of the ZXSpectrum. We're going to read this whole paragraph because I think it's important. I think it's a good one. And then we'll skim over the rest of it. But it says, we love the Spectrum. Why wouldn't we? It was much more than just a computer. It was a machine that sparked a gaming revolution, neatly housed within its iconic design, powered by sheer simplicity. The Specky was and still is on a league of its own, it says. I was going to say in a league of its own, but on a league of its own, I guess both work. Decades have come and gone, and the Specky is still alive and kicking. New games are being launched all the time. The demo scene carries on pushing the hardware limits to the unimaginable. That's a hard word for me. Artists keep on creating great 8-bit eye candy and music with it. Alongside this, there are thousands of awesome games in the back catalog to play. Ain't that the truth? I said the other day, if there is a collector out there, I think trying to collect for the Specky Next would be an endless loop of angst. You're stuck in purgatory, going to hell, because you can't do it. There's just too many games, and if somebody tried to do it, they would go bonkers. They would have a straitjacket on. There's no way somebody could do it. And if there is, I want to know what your name is, because everybody wants to see what you look like. Your hair's probably frazzled. You're probably poor as dirt, because this stuff doesn't... I spit all over my glasses. This stuff ain't cheap, Boris. I don't know why I called you Boris, but... that sounded good. Boris and Natasha. That's the Bullwinkle show, right? For you older people that know Bullwinkle. I spit all over my glasses again. Hold on. While I clean my glasses. Do you like my radio cast? Imagine what the video looks like. Okay, now let's continue reading. Where did I lead off? Okay. Meanwhile, hardware hackers and the world have expanded the ZXSpectrum to support SD card storage, feature new and better video modes, pack more memory, faster processor. Problem is, dun dun dun, these expansions can be difficult to get a hold of, and without a standardized spectrum, no one knows what to support or develop for. Now, maybe in 2018 that may have been true. I wasn't following the world of Specky that much back then. But today, you go to a place like Byte Delight, you can get all these peripherals to slap into the back of your Specky Next. So there's been some changes and adjustments. Now, maybe part shortages are causing some hiccups there. But overall, there's a plethora, I probably said that word right, of stuff that you can get for the ZXSpectrum. But needless to say, having it all in one modern, convenient package is cool. Okay. And also, a key one item that everybody can develop in, for, and around, rather than it being 50 parts put together and then trying to make it all work. That's kind of like why Apple does all right, because their stuff is made for their stuff, and yeah, they're a big company. Anyway, here's our answer, it says. The Spectrum Next, an updated and enhanced version of the ZXSpectrum, totally compatible with the original, featuring the major hardware developments of the past many years, packed inside a simple and beautiful design by the original designer, Rick Dickinson, inspired by her seminal work at Sinclair Research. Now, that was the one I was going to read in its entirety. There's pictures, eye candy. You can freely go to the Next, go to Kickstarter and type in, Next, to Spectrum Next. And you can see the two that Henrique has done, this original one and then the second one. So, this right away started getting me juiced up for, I knew about Specky. I'm not stupid. But I'm in the United States, so the Atari and the Commodores and the Apples were it. TRS-80s were it. And some other oddball ones. Specky really never did big, great stuff over here. Even though we had Timex Sinclair, it was just a little piece of the pie. The Apples and the Ataris and the Commodores, they were the big guys. Anyway, started getting a little love going on here. I started reading about this. I didn't know who Rick Dickinson was. Clive Sinclair, I think I've heard of his name before, but so far, this hasn't even said the name Clive Sinclair. It just said Sinclair Research. But you can kind of put two and two together. So then it goes on to talk what's inside the box, and it shows a nice picture of their motherboard, and it gives you all the specs of what the Specky is going to be. And then it says it's gorgeous. And that's when I saw the pictures. I started seeing a picture of this. It's an all-in-one keyboard. I love black computers. I love the original actual Next, not the Specky Next, but Steve Jobs' Next Station, Next Cube. Oh, I love black computers. They are sexy. I don't like the beiges. I mean, I'm okay with them. My Atari was kind of like a beigey brownish, but it was not your typical beige. It looked a little different. And then, of course, the Sam Coupe has its own color. But yeah, I was more into black computers. They're stealthy, they're secret, they're hackery. I digged it, right? Okay, I started to fall in love a little bit more. This thing looks sexy as all can be. Then it says, who is it for? It says the Spectrum Next is aimed at any retro gamer out there and specky enthusiast who prefers their games, demos, and apps running on hardware rather than software emulators, but wants a seamless and simple experience contained within amazing design. Now, we know that the Specky Next is made from an FPGA. I'm not going to go into the whole thing about emulators and FPGA is just an emulator. There's a lot of stuff behind it, but the way I look at it is the Spectrum Next is truly a extension of what we would have maybe seen if Sinclair was still in business or Amstrad was still kicking around and carrying on the Specky name. Maybe they would have made a Spectrum Next. And what was the next rendition? Truly, I think the Spectrum Next is indeed got the lineage. It's got the people behind it. It's not just like TJ in California that has no clue about the Spectrum makes something called the Spectrum and it's an emulator and it runs some games. That's different. This thing's it's got some of the original people involved. This has the heart of the Sinclair, right? And that's a big chunk of it. Anyway, let's continue moving on. Who is it for? Well, it's for people like you, for me. And I was just pointing at the camera, so for you radio folks, I'm pointing at you too. It's for you if you're listening to this. I continue looking on with the Kickstarter. Future-proof for another few decades, it says. Now, I don't think I'll be here in a few decades. I'm 56 or 7. I forgot how old I am. I think I'm going on 57 this summer. Anyway, it's future-proof, so I will be dead. And if I hit my 90s, I'll be pleasantly happy. 100 would just be over the top, but for all we know, live life now because tomorrow may not be here. With all the stuff going on in the world may not be here. We don't know, so live life. Try to be happy. I know some days are shitty, and I have those as well, just as many as you all do, but I try to look at the positives, and I'll go in a corner, I'll yell a few times, I'll say a few choice swear words, I'll give my 5 minutes, and then I'll come back and say, okay, we're back to normal, we'll just try to make it work. That's the way I look at things. Future-proofing. So yeah, they're future-proofing it, and there's some really cool transparent pictures that every single one of us probably said, if we could have a Next that was transparent that you could see through it, it would have been phenomenal. But these were renders that, from what I gather, you couldn't make this happen and have it visually stunning if you made a case that was see-through, because there's just tons of stuff in there. But anyway, the pictures, the renders look so cool. I would dig it. I'd love clear case stuff. And if they made a special version that was $100 more for the Specky Next Kickstarter 2, I would have done it. If they find a way to do it in Specs Kickstarter number 3, in my opinion, we'll talk about that later. But I think if there's a Kickstarter 3, I think this Kickstarter 2 that we're doing now, with the new FPGA, it really is locking in and tweaking and adjusting and fixing some bugs and making the perfect Specky. That will be it. That will be the standards. They can sell more thereafter in future years. But I think if they do another Kickstarter 3, I would love to see a new advancement on top of this. I would love to see a Specky, I don't know what we call it, Specky 4. Since Specky, they had a Spectrum plus 2 and plus 3. Do we call it a plus 4? A plus X? A plus Z? I don't know. We could talk about that. There's all sorts of things we can talk about later on. But anyway, the love. I love it, it says, but I want to stick it inside my original Specky. Ooh, this is getting a little X-rated now. We're sticking stuff in places. This is radio. Can I say that? It's like shock jock. It's perfectly fine. Just don't listen, kids. This is not a child's radio station, I don't think. It could be. I don't know. It is what it is. But anyway, they start showing some of the inner guts. They show an original Specky 48K, and then it goes on to the brains behind the project. So I'm already getting juiced up. TJ in America not super familiar with Specky, start seeing these pictures going, okay, it's got my attention. Let's read about the brains behind the project. It shows a picture of Rick Dickinson. It then shows a picture of Victor Trucco. Then Fabio Bellavenuto, Jim Bagley, Henrique Olive. Oh, jeez. You're just Henrique. Okay, you're just Henrique. And it shows the pictures of these blokes. And right there I started, people are more important than the platform. That's the thing I've said forever. It's the people I stay for. The components and hardware I love and use, but if it wasn't for the people, I would not be here. So if tomorrow all these people said, I no longer want to play with this, I think shortly after the platform would go away, because it's the people like me, them, consumers that make this thing continue on. Without us, collectively, it wouldn't be any place. So it's the people first, product second. I started looking into some of these people. And Rick Dickinson, I go, oh, man, this guy, it really is pretty artistic. He made some wonderful Specky cases. I'll admit, going back to the ZX80, 81, the Specky, they always fascinated me. And I came close to actually buying a ZX80 before my Atari 800. I was battling in my head, what do I buy? But I'm in the United States. I love the colors. I love the sound. So I bought an Atari 800 for 10 times the price. But I saved my paper route money back when kids worked. We actually got up early and went to work and made money ourselves. I didn't get any compensation from my folks. They fed me. They gave me a house. And they spanked me when I was bad, and when I was good, they would get me all sorts of wonderful gifts. But stuff like computers, I needed to buy myself. I bought my own first car. I bought my own first computer. They did give me my Odyssey too, though. That was a Christmas gift. So parents were wonderful, very generous. But yeah, things like this, they teach me early on. You need to work hard to get what you want to get. So I do. So I started looking at these names, and then all of a sudden, I'll admit, out of all these folks, the one that Rick Dickinson definitely hopped out, but then Jim Bagley. So if you're listening, Jim, you're a rock star. You know it. You should know it. If you don't know it, I know you're a humble guy. But I started seeing some videos of him about his video game creation and how he's involved. And let's face it, folks, he's one of the key voices behind the Spectrum. In the Facebook groups, he was always there. He was always in videos. He was part of the whole rolling out of the Spectrum Next. So he and Henrique really had a lot in that. But Jim Bagley really stood out to me as one of the old original guys that was part of the old stuff that's into the new stuff. And I'll admit, he's kind of a little bit of an idol to me. They all are idols to a degree, but he's definitely stuck out. And he's cool. And I asked him to be a friend on Facebook, and he said, sure. And he's a friend on Facebook, which was cool. And so I started, again, getting into these people. They are rock stars, all of them. And so I started falling in love with the people behind it. So I go, this Specky Next is really kind of cool. It looks sexy. It's got cool-ass people. I need to jump on. But did I? No. I'm stupid. I did not get in the original Spectrum Next Kickstarter. But did I? Or didn't I? We'll talk about that in a second. So it continues on with names. It shows a chocolate version. It looks like a piece of chocolate, but it says 3D printed test mock-ups. But it looks like chocolate bars that are Spectrum Next. I could eat a Next chocolate bar right now. Stretch goals. It had all sorts of new cool stretch goals. Lots of neat stuff. I started reading through these, and oh boy, they're unlocked. Some of them were still locked at the time. They all got unlocked because the Spectrum Next blew out expectations, sold many. The Kickstarters 2 was even bigger than the first one. Can you imagine that? It's crazy. But, so, I started reading all these things that you can unlock. There's a charitable part of this original Kickstarter. It says, yes, the Spectrum Next is amazing, and it does extra good. Part of all the revenue generated by the project in perpetuity, I probably roasted that word, will go straight to the Royal National Institute of the Blind. How cool is that? We owe big thanks to the Amstrad Sinclair brand holders who granted us the right to use their IP in exchange to this donation for one of the greatest charities around. So, Very cool. A lot of Kickstarters are all about them collecting the Benjamins. This was all about love, all about, making sure they don't lose money, but proceeds thereafter go to charitable enterprise. So that was very cool. Continue on. Does it work? Does it actually exist? Well, they showed a video of it existing, and it starts getting even more interesting. Then it says ZX next preliminary sprites. See, TJ was a 1980s. I had an Atari, player missile graphics, started working on my first video game called Invasion of the Cloud People, which today. I was going to make one on the Atari 800, but did I? No, because I bought my first car, a Datsun 240Z 1972 kick-ass car, orange pumpkin color. I was at that age where cars and girls became more important than computers. I liked my computers, but the game that I just started on was put aside, never saw the light of day. I'm now in my 50s, and I want to, I've been married a long time. We need hobbies to get away from each other. It's all about love. Just go out and do whatever you like. You go out and do whatever you like. To tell you the truth, my wife and I don't have tons of friends up where we live. We've got her parents. We actually really don't have, other than some coworkers she has. I've got some fly fishing buddies that live far away. We are together all day, all night. Other than when we work, we're each other's friends. So even though I kid, and we get into arguments and get mad at each other, but overall we're together all the time. We have a pretty good relationship. But just like anything else, we have our own hobbies, and we try to get out of each other's hair. What hair? If you're watching the video, I'm showing you my bald spot. But you're listening to the radio. Probably half of you are bald anyway, because you're as old as I am. As old as dirt. There's a few young whippersnappers probably here. But needless to say, many of us, I've seen pictures, other than Jim Bagley. That boy's got some hair that grows like a gnome. He's got hair all over the place. But anyway, they started showing sprites, and they started talking about, programming your own games, and you could do your own sprites, and I'm all, I want to make my own game. Should it be for the Atari, because that was my original love? Nope, I made it for the Spectrum. I fell in love with it so much that I made my dang first 2 games on a Spectrum, and that's all I've made to date. So it showed a video of that. It showed the ZXSpectrum Next running, so it's real, true stuff, and all these guys that I talked about before, all of them together are rock stars. They made the boards, they were hackers, they were software gurus, they were salesmen, you name it. There's all sorts of people in the mix that made the Spectrum Next what it is. So without them, all of them, this wouldn't have happened. So even though, like I said, I picked out Jim as, there's always movie stars that you kind of gravitate to, and just something about his personality and him being one of, in my opinion, probably the biggest face of the Spectrum, because he was in a lot of the videos and stuff. It just really caught on to me. So anyway, so sprites, features on the move, they start talking about, and they show some more pictures. A world of new games and apps. What's that about? And this is where TJ was introduced to Dizzy. I'm dizzy now all the time. When you're old, I'm going to get up. You're going to see my shirt, but you're not going to see my face. I've got a Spectrum Next shirt on. That was one of the first, it was the first shirt that I purchased. So I just stood up and I got dizzy. So what was I saying? As you get older, you get up quickly and you get dizzy. So I didn't know about Dizzy. I didn't know about the Oliver twins. So I'll also admit that the video that's part of the Kickstarter, I better make sure this thing is still recording. It is, and it's 30 minutes in. Is there enough battery time left? Oh, it's getting low. Yeah, I better talk faster. It's already half an hour. Anyway, the Dizzy twins. The Oliver twins. Dizzy twins. I'm sure they get dizzy too. They're probably older than I am. Anyway, they're in a castle-y picture. They made a video about a new Dizzy game, and they had all these animated creatures around. And I'll admit that the graphic eye candy I saw in that video of the 2 Oliver twins, or I should just say Oliver twins, because 2 Oliver twins would be 4. I don't know, I'm not good at math. But anyway, I saw this, and they're in a little castle-y, crunchy, lots of little creatures around, and it really caught my eye. So I watched their video back then, fell in love with the Dizzy. Even though I'm not great at Dizzy games, I fell in love with the idea, and that the Specky was that little computer that could kind of thing. So, yeah, that was another reason why I fell in love with it. Lots of high-tech stuff they start talking about afterwards. ESX-DOS and Rex Next and Dreamer Pogie, Gary Lancaster, which if you know the Specky Next, you know his name. Then there's No Fate, Nodes of Yeshod, Risks and Challenges. It's a Kickstarter, folks. You may not get diddly squat, but then again, you may get it. So this dates back to 2017, actually, is when it was... It said estimated delivery ships 2017. That's what this says down there, just the board. So that did happen. Just the board did ship eventually. I don't know what year, but it did ship. And then it says for the other ones that you could buy, it was 2018, January. We know that didn't happen. And so I waited years, fall in love with all the Specky Next, and I couldn't buy one because it was over. So there was 2018, 19. Oh, I want a Spectrum Next. I became a lover of the platform. I started posting on Facebook, and soon before I knew it, people were going, there's this nut TJ in the United States that loves Specky. And I started getting, I guess, a little bit of a name for myself. Often nuts do, because you're nuts, and you stand out more than the normal people, right? So I started getting a little bit of a name for myself, and I'm falling in love with it, and I'm making videos. I was on YouTube since 2007, but I only made a handful of videos like, hi, Mom, this is TJ, or fishing videos, or a few little old-time retro videos for like the B-Box and my Next Cube, things that I just kind of interested in, but they weren't daily or weekly or monthly. It was just whenever. But around the time of the Next, I started really going, I'm falling in love with this. I need to document it because I'm getting forgetful and I want to remember this experience. So I started making videos. And then before I knew it, my channel started growing from, I think actually, I already had 300 to 400 people, I think, by then. And I don't know why, because I only made a few fishing videos, maybe because of the fishing stuff I did or something. But all of a sudden I started making videos very frequently. By the way, I'm almost at 5,000 members on my YouTube channel. I may hit that in about a month. So from 300 to 400 to $5,000. I wish I had $5,000 in my pocket right now because I'm in California. I'm poor. Gas is astronomically not as high as you guys over in UK, but needless to say, California's large. You can fit all of your country in California practically. It takes 11, 12 hours to go from Northern California to Southern California. It's a long-ass drive. And it's a lot of cows. Anyway, so I started, where was I? I don't know where I was. I started falling in love with it, this nut, making a lot of videos and getting excited about it, and then whining that I was stupid and didn't get into the Kickstarter. Before I knew it, and I forget what year it was, I'm guessing it was 2019, a nice gentleman in the United States had a pledge, and this was around when, years were going by, no Spectrum Next yet. He said, you know what, I'm going to sell my pledge. I see how much you're in love with it. Would you like to buy it? And he basically sold it to me at what he paid. It wasn't a markup of any kind. He was very generous, and I bought his pledge. And so I'm a Specky original Kickstarter owner. You know that because you watch my videos. I have one. I made a video game on it, the Invasion of the Cloud People, the Next Storm on it. I love the Next. It's a hobby, but it takes every day I wake up, my thoughts are Next, Sinclair, Atari, my dogs, my wife. How am I going to pay the bills? Your typical stuff. But every day, every hour, I'm thinking of my computers, my Ataris. It's not just Sinclair, folks. I love my Atari just as much. My Atari 800 was my first computer, so I have a love for it. But I have fallen in love with all these things. But I got to admit that the Spectrum is what launched my whole rebirth into loving 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit. None of that DOS stuff. I'm the Ataris and the Amigas and all that, but I love 8-bit. There's such a vibrant community, and I love most of. I'm not going to say all of you because there's some crackers out there. They're nuts in every world that are not very nice, that send you mean posts on YouTube channels and you name it. There's some nuts out there. That's fine. Like I said, even my wife and I, who love each other, get on each other's nerves. So you're not going to be loved by everybody. You're going to have some haters. That's the part of life. But hopefully the majority of you like what I do, like that my excitement is for the Sinclair, and that I'm one of your cheerleaders cheering it on. I may not know the most about it. I may know the least about it. But I have an enthusiasm for it, and I've fallen in love with it, and I've built a little Sinclair Society Facebook group that's getting near 1,700 members now. That doesn't come by accident. It comes by, being excited about something, putting it out there. If you build it, they will come, hopefully. And so far, a lot of people have visited my Sinclair Society, visit my YouTube channel, like what I'm doing, and hopefully this Crash Radio introduces a few more folks to my little world in the United States of me, a USA bloke, loving the Sinclair. So that's a little bit about the love. It's amore today. It's Valentine's Day. What gourmet dinner am I making my wife? We have leftover stuff from Super Bowl Sunday, some taquitos, some pizza rolls, I think a couple of pieces of pizza left. We're going to have leftovers. That's how much love we have for each other. If that doesn't show crazy love, I don't know what does. Going out to a $200 restaurant is not love. That's costing too much money. The love is that we're together at a kitchen table with our two dogs driving us nuts, fighting the whole time we're trying to eat, and us pushing them back. And if you're listening to the radio, I'm using all my appendages, pushing our two young dogs off of each other because they're nuts. But yeah, I love the Sinclair. I love the Atari. I love it all. But Crash Radio is mostly about the world of Sinclair. Thanks for having me part of it. Hopefully you like my little radio cast here. This is number 2. If you don't hear number 3, it's because they got that old vaudeville hook that comes out, and if you're watching or listen to the radio, I got a big hook, and they're grabbing it around my neck and yanking me off stage because, TJ, you're too much. Hopefully not. Hopefully there's a number 3 out there. So thanks for listening. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and love your Sinclair. Most of all, love the people behind it. Okay? Love those people because they did a lot of hard work for you. Thank you, guys and gals. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye.